Patty Simpson with Simpson Math. In this video, we're going to look at how to take a real-world situation and turn it into a percent. So in previous videos, we saw that a percent is just a fraction with a denominator of 100, or it's just out of 100. So here we have a situation where we have typically 7 out of 100 babies born in the River Creek Hospital have a birth defect. Most of them are just minor defects. And we want to write that. What is the typical percentage of babies have birth defects? Well, looking back here, 7 out of 100 are born with birth defects. So 7 out of 100, I could write that as a fraction, 7 out of 100. And we know that percentages are just that, a fraction out of 100. So we could write that as a percent, just take your 100 denominator and turn it into your percent sign. So 7% of the babies have a birth defect. So out of 100, that's all a percent is it's just a fraction that is out of 100 with 100 in your denominator. So this percent sign really means out of 100. Then it asks what typical percentage of the babies do not have birth defects. Well, if 7% of them have birth defects, the rest of them don't. Well, what do I mean, the rest of them? Well, it's 7 out of 100. So to find out the ones that don't, we will simply subtract. The 100% makes up all of the babies, minus 7% are the ones that have birth defects, and that equals a total of 93% of the babies do not have a birth defect. And remember what that means is 93 out of the 100 babies. So if we have 100 babies, then 93 of them we would expect not to have birth defects. About how many babies with birth defects would you expect to find in a group of 500 babies? So if we're looking at a whole city or something and we want to know if 500 babies were born, how many are in a whole country, how many of those would we expect to have birth defects? Well, if it's 7 out of 100, so, I could take 7 out of 100 and turn that into 500. So I'm looking at it where I want to look at out of 500. So one way to do it would be to multiply the denominator here by 5. And if I multiply the denominator by 5, I have to multiply the numerator by 5 because I'm really just multiplying by a fancy 1 so that the number doesn't change. So that 35 out of 500 babies would be expected to have birth defects. Another way to do it is just to take 7% of 500. So you could multiply the 7 out of 100 or 7% by 500 to find out that number as well. But here we found that we expect 35 babies to have birth defects. Math made simple at Simpson Math. Thanks for watching.